Okay, in this video, what we're going to do is just try to tackle the basics of the soundboard. And the soundboard can be really intimidating when you look at it. But remember, what it's really trying to do is take two different inputs or more, in this case, two different inputs, or microphones, or signals, or voices, or instruments, however you want to figure it, but two different inputs, and it's trying to send them out as a single output that can go into the computer. So that's its primary job. This is happening before it ever gets to the computer, and you are trying to get the best sound into your computer so that you can then just do some basic editing in your computer side of things. So what you need to know about your inputs is this. If you can see the way that I've got them set up right now, really what you have is you have to learn how to use these buttons here. So once you learn what those buttons mean, it's just repeated for each input. And really, there's not a ton that you have to know about those buttons in order for them to be really successful. So let's talk through some of the main things, and let's just focus on the first microphone. So the sound has traveled from our microphone into this. It's plugged in, our cables are working. The first thing that you should know is that you'll want to be able to hear that sound and do some testing. And so a good set of headphones is really valuable. Well, where are the headphones connected? The headphones are connected right here. And here is my headphone volume. You don't want to turn this up too high, but you want to be able to hear that headphone volume. And so you'll want to put your headphones on as your first starting point. Now, when the sound comes in and travels through our first audio bus here, this button at the bottom, you can see the headphone icon, allows that sound to travel through to the headphones. And one of the things you're hopefully seeing right away is that when I push that button down, I am now getting sound that comes through on our visual indicator here. This tells me how loud my sound is. Now, what I'm really shooting for is sound. I'm going to turn up my own volume here just so you can see it here. What I'm really shooting for is sound that is just below that yellow line, or maybe clipping into that yellow line. But what you don't want is sound that's really high and always yellow. That wouldn't be good. Okay, so now what we're going to do is we're going to learn some of the basics, but you know what you're looking for and listening for, which is, even if it sounds great in here, if you aren't getting very many bars, and this is very low, you're not getting good sound, and you need it to be a little bit louder. So what do you turn up? You work with one channel at a time, and you have somebody there who's talking in their normal speaking voice, just like I'm doing here. What you start with is our main mix, okay, our mix volume, and that's at the bottom here. And this is just, you're going to start at where it says 0. So not straight up and down, but where it says 0. And if the person's very loud, you would turn that down. And if the person's very quiet, you would turn that up. But our goal here is to turn up our mix. Now, we can turn it all the way up if we like and not get enough sound. And so the second button that we're going to touch is our gain. That here is going to be turned up ever so slightly because it's really a multiplier. And what you're trying to avoid is getting so much gain that you pick up all the sound in the room or you blow out somebody's ears. But you're wanting to also get them to have a decent volume. So between our mix sound and our gain, we're turning up the volume to get to a point where we can be pretty happy with the sound level that we have there. Now, there are other options here, things that you should be, thinking about. You can, when you get more advanced in your sound editing, you can turn up your high, your mids, and your lows. You can have other sounds on a channel here. You can add effects. You can pan the sound to the left ear or the right ear. But for the most part, if you can master these two areas, okay, our mix sound and our gain, you're in pretty good shape. And you just repeat that for each here. One thing we then do is we move on to this main sound out. And this is how the sound is sent to the computer. So when we send that main sound out, what we're doing is we're watching the sound levels in GarageBand, and I'll show you how to do that in a future video. But you're going to keep adjusting up your sound without blowing out something. Again, if you start at 0, you can keep moving forward until you have a decent sound that's going into the computer from there. And that's really can be quite helpful, and that's what you need to know. One other thing to note is if you are sending additional sound in, let's say from somebody's phone, and you want to have additional sound that gets played into this, there are some adapters that'll go from these two left and right sounds into the person's phone, and then we treat that the same way. We adjust the sound levels just like we did back here, but if you want to have that outside sound component, that's all you need to do that. And so those are the keys to working with this, and when you don't want to hear a channel anymore, you simply click that little icon on the bottom and switch to the new channel, or if you want to see them together, you turn both on. So that's kind of the main input, the main inputs of the board. A reminder, this is sending our sound out to our computer. And there is a power button on the back of the board here. I'm just going to shift over. So when you are not using it, you're going to use our power button to turn that off. And that is an overview of the soundboard.